Sai Ram. 3-4 days before, we had put up a statement by a master in one of the groups, where the master says that what we understand as karma, the theory of karma, never exists. He did receive few responses from few of you, either in the group or one-to-one, on your understanding of this statement that karma never exists. Whereas there is not one and there are not two, but there are 4 parts of the theory of karma sessions available in the YouTube channel, which talks all about karma. In the beginning of sadhana, a mumukshu sadhaka has to be explained all about karma, all about as you sow, so you reap. If this theory is not imbibed by a sadhaka, by any human being for that matter, if one is not made to understand that he or she has to reap the consequences of their action, then everybody will be left scot-free to do anything they want if they are not taught that whatever actions, good or bad, they come back to them as white arrows for good actions and red arrows for bad actions. They get stored, and then when they are reborn, they carry it as sanchita karma, a bag containing both white and red arrows, and these arrows will be just shot by them, converting into prarabdha karma in their birth, in their present birth. So that stage was that in the initial stage of these series of sessions, teachings, it was very necessary for a sadhaka to understand that one has to be careful about his or her present actions, because they will fetch the necessary good or bad karmas for them in the same birth or in the future births. But now, after 14-15 years of sessions, the time has to come for revealing through this master's talk on how and at what stage in spiritual sadhana for a sadhaka one can say that there is no karma ever. The talk has been taken from a video based on the talks of Paramahamsa Yogananda, The entire content has been abridged to maintain the time limit and to catch the essence of the subject. So we start. On the Master's Gospel about this subject, no karma ever exists. Quote. Today, if I were to declare that karma does not exist, this might be misunderstood as a denial of the law of cause and effect. However, this is not a denial of karma, but we are in for an opening from a deeper level of consciousness. Karma exists only for the ego, but it is completely meaningless in the grandeur of the true self. Yogananda points out that the soul, which is the pure light of God, is never bound by karma. It is only when you identify with the finite body that you carry a burden that never belonged to you. We study karma, we argue about karma, and we fear the consequences of the past. Yet, very few people realize one core truth. All of these are just games of a sleeping mind. In the teachings of masters like Ramakrishna, Ramana Maharishi, karma has never been portrayed as a grim judgment or a fateful punishment for humans. Karma is not born of action alone, but of the I behind the action. When you act with attachment, you bind yourself to the wheel of samsara. In contrast, when you act with awareness and selflessness, you stand outside the cycle. Look at this formula. Karma is equal to action plus intention plus identification with the result. You may perform good deeds, but if your mind is still wandering, still craving recognition, success, or cultivating a good self, you are still creating karma. Yogananda powerfully asserted, every action that comes from the ego creates bondage. Every action that comes upon union with God is liberation. A person can do countless good deeds and still be stuck up in karma, while an enlightened being can just sit quietly, do nothing, and yet be liberated because the ego that creates them has completely dissolved within them. Many people blame karma when faced with misfortune. The truth is that the karma does not punish you. It only reflects you. Karma is like a spiritual mirror. If your mind is distorted, the image of life will be distorted. If you live in awareness, the mirror itself dissolves. You no longer reflect anything because you have become the light itself. When living with the true self, karma dissolves in the light of truth. There is a truth that frees all burdens. linking this mirror example, unquote, we are now linking the mirror example with the Drigdrishya Viveka session, where we learned that consciousness reflects on the mirror intellect, and then the reflected consciousness goes on to illumine our body, mind, senses. Here the master says karma is like a mirror. If your mind is distorted with the distorted mind you see the mirror of karma, then reflection of all good bad karma will come back to your mind. Instead, imagine you exist as the pure consciousness as learnt in the Drigdrishya Viveka session, and then the light reflects into the mirror of karma. Then, what will the light speak or think about karma? In fact, in the brightness of that pure consciousness light, the mirror of karma itself is not seen. So, no karma when you exist as the light, pure consciousness, pure awareness. Karma is like the quote, karma is like the layers of ice of ignorance. As long as the sun of consciousness shines, everything will melt into nothinglessness. The true self does not need to fight or resist karma. The true self simply needs to be present. When you live fully in that state of pure presence, or from a state of pure presence, not trying to control, not trying to judge, with no desire to prove anything, then karma has nowhere to cling. Ego is the main ingredient in karma. When there is no ego, karma cannot be created. What really happens when you realize your true self? When you know what you are, all questions disappear. Ramana Maharishi says that true self is not a knowledge to be memorized. The true self is the original you. Before you had a name, before you had any memories, opinions, or any karma. So what happens when you realize this truth? Not through vague thinking, but through your own living experience. Number one, the mind stops and the real life begins. You are no longer caught up in the endless cycle of I must do this, I should be that, or I want to achieve that. The mind, which is a constant storyteller, becomes a still or a stilled lake. Becomes stilled like a stilled lake. You no longer act, you just live. As long as you believe you are this body and mind, you suffer. When you see clearly that you are the nameless presence, suffering disappears like darkness before dawn. Number two, karma is no longer a chain. It becomes a door of service. What does this mean? When you live from the self, all your actions flow naturally, purely, and without creating karma. You no longer have to wonder, is this good? Will there be any result? Because you no longer act to get something for yourself. You simply act out of pure love. You are not the creator of karma. You are the light that burns it away whenever you are present. Number three, fear disappears. Even death is no longer an enemy for a realized soul. When you are no longer identified with the finite body, you are no longer afraid of the body dying, no longer afraid of any loss, of any hurt, of any ending, because you realize you never really began, so you cannot end. Birthless, Ajay, Amar. Birthless and hence deathless. You are pure life, unborn, undying. Ramana Maharishi affirmed this truth. Death happens only to the body. The self has never been born. How can it die? This is the ultimate liberation from the most primitive fear of mankind, which is the fear of death. Number 4, love becomes unconditional. This is so because you see everyone as one with you. When you realize the self within you, you will see everyone around you no longer through the glass of the ego with your judgment and distinctions. You no longer compare, no longer envy, no longer judge. Go back to the session on Nayana Nayaname. Now your eyes have become Krishna's eyes, divine eyes. Nayana Nayaname Sai. Yogananda taught a profound lesson to see God in everyone. That is the highest love, because you do not love with your little heart. You love with the heart of the universe. This is the expansion of the heart into infinity beyond all boundaries of separation. Number 5, life becomes an expanding meditation. You no longer need to find God or see enlightenment, because you are living as God. Walking, standing, eating, sleeping, working, every action is a natural outpouring from the fountain of silence within you. When the mind is at one with the self, you can wash the dishes and feel as if you are sitting in samadhi, the deepest state of spiritual union. This is the life of an enlightened being, where every breath is a prayer, every action is a dance of consciousness, and every moment is an expression of absolute peace. When asked about the way to liberation from karma, Ramana directly posed a groundbreaking question, cutting through all methods. Who is the doer? Who is the one experiencing karma? Find him and the karma will vanish like smoke. For Ramana, the key is not to change the action or avoid the result, but to discover and understanding the nature of the doer. When you see clearly, I am not this body, not this mind, not this social role, you are no longer the doer and thereby no longer the sufferer. Seekers, please go back to one of the recent sessions on Ramana's teachings, a short session available in the channel, which gives great clarity on Ramana's teachings, on the who am I question. No karma is created. No karma is erased. You are a bird flying through the sky, leaving no trace behind. The only focus, the pure present, where all karma is resolved. When your mind wanders into the question, what karma do I have? How does my past affect my present? You are unwittingly pulling yourself into the tangled threads of past and future. You are trapped in the concept of time where karma seems to exist and dominate. Once you go beyond the time space and you always, every moment you breathe is your present. There is no past, there is no future where there is any relevance of any karma. Karma comes only from the past, and it is going to affect your future. And you are always living in the present. No past, no future, no karma. Karma does not exist in the pure being existing always in present. Because in the moment of the pure now, where consciousness is fully awake and unadulterated by thoughts or emotions, there is no concept of a doer and there is no concept of a receiver. There is only living life, breathing through you, looking through you, experiencing through you. The pure is a timeless space, not bound by time or cause and effect. It is a primordial nature. It is the primordial nature where all concepts of karma, of I and mind dissolve like an illusion. When you are fully present in this moment, you are no longer subject to the law of karma, because there is no individual existing for karma to cling on to that individual. You do not need to laboriously untangle each complex karmic thread like a tangled web. All you need is one thing: to remain in the pure presence of this moment. You are the light that has never been tainted by any darkness of the past. You are the divine presence that has never been imprisoned in anybody or any role. You are the truth itself beyond all concepts of good and evil, the law of cause and effect, or the cycle of karma. And now, a practical demonstration of how karma is not there for an enlightened seer, or even for someone who is in a very advanced state in spiritual sadhana, almost in the penultimate stage to moksha. Let us ask ourselves, what are all the miseries we are facing actually in our life? We may get the following answers. I am having some big health issue, big disease. My own kith and kin have deserted me. I lost my property. I lost my job. I lost all the recognition in the society. You may open your diary and write down all the miseries you are facing. Some may be unique to you, which may not be there for others, and some which have been highlighted now, they are almost common for all. Now, sit in deep meditation or in deep remembrance of God, in our case of Sai. Merge with Sai, listening to bhajans, visualizing his darshan, sparshan, sambhashan in Puttaparthi. Or, as per the latest Tattvamasi session, realize that you are the river Atman which has merged with the ocean Brahman, And your post-merger, your existence is that where the merging process, the you who have merged, Brahman with whom you have merged, nothing of this comes to your thought. At this state, tell me frankly, are you experiencing the misery of all those points which you had noted in the diary as karmas you are facing? It is not that they are not there, but the one in you with your mind is not there to experiencing those karmas. On the penultimate date of final court hearing and punishment to be awarded for the sinner who is in jail, the sinner has died, the file is closed, the court hearing is stopped, says Chinmaya in a commentary on an Ashtavakra Gita verse where Janaka roars, there is no prarabdha karma for me. This is the take-home lesson. So, from today onwards, let us start the day with a positive affirmation which we can in fact tell loudly in front of Swami in our puja room before starting our day. O Swami, I am an inseparable part of you. You are ever pure and perfect, Niranjana. However, as an indivisible part of you, how can I ever be impure and imperfect and adding to my karma and suffering due to my karma? I am you and you are me. Like you, I have no birth, no death, and no karma. The last line of a bhajan, Niranjana Vijayi Bhava, now applies to me, O Sai. I am pure. I am blemishless. I have won over all karmas and I am Vijaya, the ever victorious. Jai Sai Ram.